Alright folks, hey, I listen real carefully. This one, we are in the town of Capernaum, which is known as Jesus' town, known as the town where he lived for the time of for about 3.5 years. When he started his ministry, he came into Cana of Galilee because he was invited to a wedding. And you'd remember that he performed his first miracle, John chapter 2, when he turned the water into wine. First recorded miracle. We don't know if he did any before that. But after he left Cana of Galilee, which is close by, he came to Capernaum, right here. This is the area of Capernaum. This is a place where Jesus did a lot of things. For example, he shows his disciples here. He healed the woman with the issue of blood in the town of Capernaum. The man that was possessed with demons in the book of Mark chapter 1. In fact, I want to read that just to give you a little context right here. And it is so cool because when you read Mark chapter 1, you get an idea, geographically speaking, for exactly how everything happened. You get a timeline. Mark chapter 1, verse 21, and they went into Capernaum, and straightway on the Sabbath, he entered into the synagogue. The synagogue is right across here. If you can show the camera over here. The synagogue is right over there in the distance, that the ruins of the synagogue, and the real synagogue that stood when Jesus was here is actually below that one. And so they went into the synagogue. Watch this. They went into the synagogue, and they were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one that had authority, and not as the scribes. And there was there in the synagogue a man with an unclean spirit. That's the man that I talked about. And he cried out. And that's where he healed the man and delivered the man from the demons right there in the synagogue. Verse 25 says, and Jesus rebuked him, saying, hold thy peace. And when the unclean spirit had torn him and cried out with a loud voice, he came out of him. And they were all amazed. And then when you come a little lower down, it reads, and forthwith, when they came out of the synagogue, they entered into the house of Simon Peter and Andrew with James and John. And this is where Peter's house is. If you could, there's a church that was built over Peter's house, but this is actually where Peter's house was. Below it, you can see the ruins of it. We don't want to go back close over there because we're actually shooting this video, but that's where. So you get an idea that Jesus came out of the synagogue and then he walked a few yards over here to Peter's house. This is just really, really so neat. And then there were so many things, so many people that were sick, people that had diseases, all sorts of things. Jesus delivered and healed a lot of people. But on top of that, despite all of that, they still didn't receive. A lot of the Jewish people that lived here did not receive the message of Christ, even though they saw all of the miracles. I mean, he healed so many people, did so many great things. And so you remember he said, woe be unto Capernaum and woe be unto Chorazin, which is way above on the other side, and Bethsaida, which is on the other side to my right. But you get an idea, geographically speaking, for everything that happened in this area. It's like, wow, look, the scripture, it just comes alive. You know, behind me as well is the Sea of Galilee. So when Jesus, like I was saying earlier, shows his disciples, you get an idea. Peter lived over here, and his boat would not have been far from his house. So look at where the water actually is, in the Sea of Galilee, where he met Peter, and he said unto him, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. Peter was fishing with his brothers and probably some friends and other guys that were working with them, but you get an idea, geographically speaking, for exactly what happened. And Jesus, like I said, did so many miracles here. But listen, again, I can't stress it enough. This is such an awesome place to be. And I want to invite you to come back with us. Over here is a statue of Peter that they made in honor of St. Peter. And if we can, we probably will get a chance now to walk over here and look at the house. We'll get a chance to walk over here and look at the house of Peter himself. This is 100% authenticated, as we are told by the tour guide. This is not made up. It's not something that they do for money, anything like that. This is the original ruins of the house of Peter. Down below here, we're going to get a shot of it now because the group that was standing here just now, they just walked away. But this is it right here, folks. Take a look at this. This is just absolutely awesome. The house of Peter, the ruins of the house of Peter is below the church. And this is it. This is where Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law after he came out of the synagogue, and he casted out the demon out of the man with the unclean spirit. He came over to Peter's house, healed Peter's mother-in-law, and then he said to them, let's go into other towns. And there were other towns and villages close by. But I wanted to give you that live, get an idea of what happened in this place, Capernaum. And I'll tell you what, this is my favorite place thus far on this trip. I thought it would have been the Sea of Galilee that we were on today, but hey, this one beat it back. So that's it for now. We're going to go and look at some other things, but appreciate you looking at this video. Share it with other folks and plan to be here with us next year. Bless you. Shalom.